What is going on, everybody? Christian Ballard here with Ballard Sports Media, coming at you with a college football flashback video. This is the fourth one in the series. We did the Fiesta Bowl from 1987. We looked at the very first college football game between Rutgers and Princeton. And then I did one for the 2007 Bama-Georgia game because, they met for the first time in Tuscaloosa since then. This year, a few weeks ago. Now, I want to look at one all the way back from 2002. I've heard about this game before. I figured I would review it. Let's look back at the 2002 LSU Kentucky game. Let's look at the Bluegrass Miracle. Let's get into it. All right, where do I begin with this? It was played in Lexington, Kentucky, at Kroger Field. It's at Kroger Field. Speaking of, at least on the day that I'm recording this, Bama plays Kentucky this weekend, but that's irrelevant to this current topic, the Bluegrass Miracle, looking back in 2002, not 2020. All right. The game was played in Lexington, Kentucky. It was November 9th, 2002. This was back when Nick Saban was coaching LSU. This was, I guess this was the season that Nick Saban won the title with LSU, his first ever national championship. As we know, he has 6 titles in total, 5 at Bama, 1 at LSU. It was Nick Saban of LSU facing off against the head coach for the Kentucky Wildcats, Guy Morris. It was a good quarterback matchup, Marcus Randall and Jared Lorenzen. A pretty big quarterback, big guy for a quarterback, Lorenzen. I mean, this guy, he's a big dude. He really is. But that was the quarterback matchup, and also the current. If you guys are familiar with Marcus Spears, who's a SEC Network analyst, he was in this game. He was a defensive back that was on the team that year as well. So, all right, so let's dive into the game. LSU got the ball first to begin the game. It was LeBrandon Toefield, who's a running back. He called a fair catch. The Tigers took it at the 25-yard line. You know how a fair catch works and everything. And Kentucky, their defense was just showing up. It was defense and defense and defense all throughout pretty much the first quarter. Kentucky really only had one touchdown in that first opening quarter of the game. It was 7-0, and it was Jared Lorenzen, to Aaron Boone, a wide receiver for Kentucky. A 43-yard touchdown pass that left about 6:19 left on the clock in the first quarter. It was the first score of the game, and like I just mentioned, it was a scoreless first quarter outside of that. So as you see in the game, if you go back and watch it, defenses really showed up, I think, to start out in this game. So like I just said, defenses showed up in this game. LSU gets the ball first and, turns the ball over, a punt. It was pretty much like that. The first couple drives were punts. No, field goals, not really in field goal range. I mean, it was defense until finally Kentucky gets a touchdown in the first quarter. Aaron Boone catches it from Jared Lorenzen. I keep wanting to say Lorenzo, but it's Lorenzen. A 43-yard touchdown pass, 6:19 left in the first quarter. It's the first score of the game. And it ended up being 7-0 Kentucky at the end of the first quarter. But going forward in the game, it would get a little more interesting, I think. LSU would answer that touchdown shortly into the second quarter, give or take a few minutes into it, maybe 4 or 5 minutes into the second quarter, LSU has the ball. And, you rarely, at least today, see these plays. I don't know if it was big back then, but, a shovel pass where the quarterback just kind of quick tosses it to the running back or whatever, it was a shovel pass which hardly goes for any yards. It normally, because you toss it to them, you normally would use that in the red zone. They were probably at like the 30-something yard line or whatever. Hardly goes for very many yards, and it was Marcus Randall to Devery Henderson. Remember that name. That's a key player in this matchup. So they score, tied up 7-7. Kentucky gets the ball back. They end up punting on their next drive. They end up punting, and with a little over 3 minutes left in the half in the second quarter, LSU would get the ball back. And guess who it is? Yeah, Devery Henderson again. I'm telling, man, remember that name, okay? He breaks the tie before half, right? So it was 7-0 Kentucky at the end of the first quarter. Then at some point early on in the second quarter, there's that shovel pass by LSU, goes for a touchdown. As I just mentioned, that hardly ever happens, right? Ties it up at 7, right? Then 31-yard touchdown pass right before halftime. 31 yards, Marcus Randall to Devery Henderson. Breaks the tie. LSU leads at halftime 14-7. Kentucky scoreless in the second quarter. So it kind of flip-flops a little bit in this game because, see, LSU had been scoreless in the first quarter. It was 7-0 Kentucky at the end of the first quarter. Now it's 14-7 at halftime, and LSU's on top. So they shut out Kentucky in the second quarter. All right. Then they would eventually, in the third quarter, LSU would extend the lead in the game 21-7. So what looks like is going to be Kentucky's game has ultimately turned on them, and LSU's up 21-7 some point, early on in the third quarter. Just running the ball well, moving it down there, a couple key touchdowns, and they're up 21-7. But Kentucky they came right back. Their next drive, at some point, a couple bad run plays. Jared Lorenzo throws the ball on third down. It was Harp, after watching the game, it's weird. This guy, his last name was Harp. So if someone could help me out with this, I looked on the rosters, and he wasn't on there. They didn't say what his first name was at all. I just noticed it said that on the back of his jersey. He was the tight end. He was number 11. But Jared Lorenzen ended up throwing the ball to him for a touchdown, and they would cut the deficit. Remember, LSU extends the lead 21-7. Lorenzen finds his man Harp, the tight end, and they cut it to 21-14. And a little later on, LSU would get a field goal with about 11 minutes left in the third quarter, and from there on, it gets really interesting. This game was just insane all the way around, and we'll get to the final play pretty soon. It was insane, is what it was. It was at one point LSU 21-7 in the third. It was Kentucky 7-0 at the end of the first. So let's rewind real quick. End of the first quarter, Kentucky's leading 7-0, right? Then a really good shovel pass, Devery Henderson from Marcus Randall, touchdown, and they cut the deficit, they tied up at 7, and then LSU's leading 14-7 at the half. Kentucky doesn't get any points in the second quarter. LSU extends the lead. It's then 21-7. And then here we are in the third quarter. and it's 21-14 LSU, and Jared Lorenzen finds his man Harp, the tight end, for a touchdown. So yeah, going forward, I mean, it just gets so interesting. I mean, this truly was a game to remember. You know, eventually, you know, LSU would get a field goal later on. They make it a 10-point game with 11 minutes left. You know, in I guess the third quarter. Shoot, 24-14 with about 11 minutes left. LSU leads from there on out, and it was just offense. It was almost like a shootout, you know. Kentucky would cut the deficit, you know, with a touchdown. Now, I think they tried to go for two or whatever. They couldn't, you know, get the extra point, and they cut it to 24-20. Lorenzen finds a clean shot to the senior receiver, Aaron Boone. And then LSU gets the ball back, and they would eventually extend the lead to make it a touchdown game. It was 24-20. LSU ends up kicking a field goal. It's 27-20, and then it's starting to look like Kentucky's sitting there like, we just gave up 3. Now it's only a 7-point game. We still need a touchdown. You know, and this is where it happens. Kentucky gets about 3 minutes left in the game, a little bit over 3 minutes left in the game, right? And they end up scoring. Lorenzen to Boone, a touchdown pass for 45 yards. Man, I'll tell you what, this Boone. Now, here's the thing. I tried looking at the rosters and everything for this, and some of the guys that I saw, it was Aaron Boone, but he's not even on the roster. But I know, you know, I'm just going by what they said these players' names were. If you go back and you can watch this whole game on YouTube, I went and I watched it and I took notes. So, you know, if you're going to go in the comments and be like, he's not on the roster or whatever for that year, you know what? It is what it is. That's what I heard. That's what I saw on the jerseys and everything. So I'm going for it. Where was I? Kentucky cuts the deficit. Lorenzen gets a clean shot, like wide open, to the senior Aaron Boone. And they, you know, it's 24-20. LSU on their next drive would get a field goal, 3 points, makes it a touchdown game. Let's see. It was, again, Lorenzen to Boone on the next Kentucky drive. They get a little bit over 3 minutes left, so it's coming down to the wire. Lorenzen to Boone, a touchdown pass for 45 yards. The score is then tied up at 27. All right, LSU will get the ball back, a little bit over 2 minutes left. They get a run play in or two. They go 3 and out, and they're forced to punt. This is where it gets very, very interesting. Oh, man. I'm telling you, go back and watch this game. You're in for a treat, because this was a really, really good game. Down to the wire. You look at the final score, and we'll get to that in a minute, and you wonder, how does it end up getting to that point? Well, we're fixing to tell you. So it's tied at 27. LSU has the ball back, a little over 2 minutes left in the game. They would get a run play in or two, a couple passing plays, but they go 3 and out, and they have no choice. They're forced to punt. They're not in field goal range or anything. It's still tied. Kentucky would end up driving, and they get it in the red zone, get it down to the 15, somewhere in there. They end up getting to the 5-yard line, right? The other side of the field in LSU territory. They're in the red zone. They set up for a field goal to break the tie, and they end up getting 3, and they lead 30-27, right? that should end the game right there. You know what I mean? Like, they leave, and this was under a minute too. They now lead 30-27. There's 11 seconds left on the clock for LSU. Kentucky kicks the ball off. A little squib kick, a little pooch kick, whatever word you want to use to describe it. You know how they would kick it, let it roll, and basically force the other team to move a little bit with the ball and, take some time off the clock. That's exactly what Kentucky did. Whew. So Kentucky kicks it. It was Devery Henderson. He picks it up. He runs out of bounds. It took 2 seconds off the clock, right? So Kentucky, when they kick that field goal, there's 11 seconds left. They kick the ball, and LSU only took off 2 seconds. Nick Saban and LSU are like, we only got a couple more plays in us. There's 9 seconds left in the game. They got 9 seconds to try to win this game, man. Everything's on the line. They need a win. Kentucky needs a win. This game's been back and forth. And you just know when it's one of those games, like, no matter what's at stake, whether, it's not going to mean anything. We're not winning the conference. We're not going to this bowl game, whatever. Look, a game is a game and a win is a win. A coach will tell you that, I'm sure. And especially like a game like this, how back and forth it's been is just insane. So Henderson picked it up. Devery Henderson picks up the ball, goes out of bounds. 9 seconds left for LSU to try and win. I think they did have timeouts. They had a couple timeouts. Marcus Randall steps back. He throws a slant to Clayton. It was the sophomore, Michael Clayton. So Randall, a sophomore quarterback, to Michael Clayton, a sophomore receiver. Throws just a little slant play over the middle. They stop the clock with 2 seconds left. It's do or die. LSU needs something here to get a victory. And Kentucky was already celebrating as the players. They went ahead and dumped the Gatorade on Coach Morris, Guy Morris. I mentioned the coaches at the beginning. They're already celebrating. They're jumping up and down like they just won the Super Bowl or something. They dumped the Gatorade on him. He's covered in it. He's celebrating. He's dancing. LSU's on the sidelines like, hey, guys, we still got 2 seconds left, and I'm sure if you were to ask Nick Saban, man, he'd tell you he was nervous. He'd tell you, like, we had one final play. I would have been nervous, too. 2 seconds left on the road at Kroger Field. The team's already celebrating. And you got one final play in you. Whew. So let's go ahead and get down to the final play. This was the Bluegrass Miracle. I'll show it real quick. Take a look.
Randall, as time expires, lets it fly. Oh my goodness! Touchdown LSU! They win the game! Goes over.
And Henderson had really good concentration. He caught the ball barely, and a miracle. And there you have the Bluegrass Miracle. You saw it. Randall steps back. He knows there's no time on the clock now. He's taking the snap. It's do or die. You got to do something. He steps back, throws it in the air. Kentucky players are bunched up, covering everybody. It was tipped. And who was there to be the hero for LSU? Yeah, that's right. The guy we've already mentioned quite a few times, Devery Henderson from Marcus Randall, tipped ball, almost like it almost makes me think of, and this is another flashback video I'll have to do sometime. It makes me think of the prayer at Jordan Hare from 2013 when Auburn, kick six happened that year and everything. That's one I'll have to do as well. But that Bluegrass Miracle play makes me think of the prayer at Jordan Hare with the 4th and 18 and all that. Different game for a different time. And again, there's no time left, right? They got one final play. And The play was actually called Dash Right 93 Berlin. It's basically a Hail Mary type of play. A couple guys go across the middle, but you have guys going up, like a play action all the way to the end zone. Players everywhere in a pile in the middle of the field and even outside, but it's tipped, and Henderson, the hero for LSU, caught the ball, and on a historic November afternoon on November 9th in 2002, on a Bluegrass field, LSU won 33-30 against Kentucky, the final score. And they pulled out a miracle of miracles. Everyone was celebrating. And when Kentucky was just, they were already dancing and everything. They were excited. They're like, we just won, look at this. Look at how much time's left on the clock. And Coach Morris is over there dancing. But Nick Saban looked at it, he said, I don't know why y'all are dancing. We got one final play. And I actually have done some further research, and I've heard about this. I actually think I've heard Nick Saban talk about this in a press conference since he's been at Alabama or whatever. But, I think they worked. So, again, the play was called like Dash Right 93 Berlin. And I think he's talked about like how they worked on that play in practice and everything. They've been saving it. How coaches always talk about like, well, that final play, we've worked on it in practice all week and all that. And it was a clean shot, man. It was tipped. It looked like he didn't have it, but Devery Henderson barely got it on his hands and just held on to it and just took off to the end zone, and it was right there. And again, the final score, LSU 33, Kentucky 30. And there you have the Bluegrass miracle. So, anyway, that does it for this college football flashback video. If there's one you want me to do, definitely comment down below. Send me an email, balorsports19@gmail.com. I'll look into a game, whatever you want, and I will definitely try to review it. But anyway, appreciate you guys so much for watching. Love all you guys. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Thanks so much for watching and tuning in today, and I'll see you guys next time. Till then, Ballard Sports Media checking out. Have a good day.